Hey guys, Don here. Sorry I wasn't able to be there with you in class live and in person. Had to send it in because I'm traveling for work, so unfortunately you won't be able to ask me any questions. Hopefully afterwards Jason can show you the slides that I would have shown but can't right now. But I'm talking about video game consoles tonight, and in particular the Nintendo Wii, which is currently the brand equity leader for the category. But the story actually starts back in 2007. At the time, the Sony PlayStation was the market leader. There was the PlayStation 2, and they had just introduced the PlayStation 3. There was a new upstart from Microsoft called the Xbox, and that was vying to unseat Sony. Well, enter into the scene Nintendo. Nintendo hadn't been heard from for many years. They were popular with the Super Nintendo and the N64, and then they had fallen off the map a little bit with the GameCube. In 2007, Nintendo, as they were contemplating their market entry, observed a couple of trends. The first was that as gamers aged, like me, they started families, which led to things like this around the house, which meant a lot less time for games. The second trend was that as games got more complicated, they got a lot more expensive. Well, Nintendo decided to try and counteract that. They did a couple of things. First, they did away with old controllers, which had gotten complicated. This is actually a GameCube controller, but pretty similar to a PlayStation or Xbox. And they replaced it with the Nintendo Wiimote. The Wiimote used motion sensing technology, and many of you have probably played on a Nintendo Wii since then, but it allowed people to interact with games in a different manner. This allowed Nintendo to focus on fun, family-friendly titles for the casual gamer. The second thing that Nintendo did was that when they designed their hardware, they bought off-the-shelf components, which allowed them to charge an initial price of $249. So it was much less expensive than the PlayStation or Xbox. And this made it less of an investment and more of an impulse purchase. So that was the first part of Nintendo's success and what helped them to get to become the brand equity leader. The second part was that they were able to leverage their large catalog of video game brands. So, for example, they were able to take Super Mario, and that's probably backwards, but you get the idea, and others like Metroid, and they had Zelda, Donkey Kong, many of those you've heard of, Mario Kart Racing, and leveraging the brand equity in those game titles, they were able to bring those games to the Nintendo Wii and have instant success with platforms that people were already familiar with. So that was the second big part of their equity. And over time, to maintain their position, they've since lowered their price to $199, again, further strengthening unit sales. So as of last year, the company had sold another 7 million units, bringing the total sales to over 30 million units, which is pretty amazing considering that they launched the Wii back in 1997 and it's 2011. Most video game consoles don't last that long. So what are the implications for Nintendo and marketing into the future? Well, they're running out of time, frankly, because the hardware is aging and PlayStation and Xbox have come up with other similar technologies to the Wiimote. PlayStation has a motion sensing device, and Microsoft has the Kinect. So that's encroaching on Nintendo's innovation. Nintendo can still leverage its software titles and market through that, but at some point they're going to become a little bit dated. Nintendo ultimately is going to have to shelve the system and come up with something new to replace it, and hopefully help it maintain its leadership position as the #1 video game console. Thanks. I'll see you next week.